It was chilly. I didn't have a jacket near me. I didn't have a Parker. I didn't have with a flock. Nothing. I just was out there in the elements, and it was getting there. Like I turned the heat on in the car last night. Got a little chilly, but I'm actually happy. It's been a hot summer. I was hoping it was going to be hot 2 more days. I was trying to get in the pool just before they closed it up, which is so, but you got to do what you got to do. It's like, between, if you live in the South, between September to like damn near the first week of November, we're going to have a lot of days we're just going to get hot for no reason. But you got to close up. Nobody feels like cleaning it. You know what I'm saying? So it was nice while we had it. I actually got in the water a few times this year. Not as much as I wanted to because of my Achilles injury, but we had, I got in the pool. I went to the river. Didn't swim in the river because I was a little nervous. I've been to the beach, so got out a little bit. If you're joining me now on Instagram, which nobody is, I can see that. But if you watch later, thank you for just jumping right in as I jumped right in and made a last minute decision to say, let's go live. We're going to go live. Anywho, where do I start? This past week, oh my God, it just was the gift that kept on giving. First of all, on a side note, in the third segment, we're going to talk about Tom Seaver, who passed away, and I'm going to talk about John Thomas, who also passed away, former head coach of Georgetown. I don't know either of them personally, but they touched a lot of people. They are icons in their respectable fields. They're Big John, but we'll cover that in the third segment. Because as I was going to start today's show off talking about Chauncey Billups and his delusions, if you will. But I decided, because thanks to Stephen A. Smith, I must continue on a tirade in the path of race in the world. So, if you haven't heard and you've been under a rock the last few days, NBA Hall of Famer, former All-Star, two-time MVP, the Canadian sensation, the Canadian bacon himself, Steve Nash, became the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. When I first saw this announcement, I said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Not the same reason because Stephen A. Smith, more or less because here you have a team in Brooklyn that, in my opinion, is already going to be dysfunctional after what happened with some of the team coming to play in the bubble while some of the team chose to stay home, while the superstars stayed home and talked from afar. I felt like, that could create some type of animosity to guys who next year may not have as much playing time because Kyrie Irving's supposed to be healthy, Kevin Durant's going to be healthy. So what does that say to guys who did come and play in the bubble, sacrifice themselves? They're not going to have that kind of playing time that they had this year. So, I think it's going to create some animosity. Now, superstars in the NBA tend to hold more weight, so there's going to be a situation, people will just play their role and just sit in the back seat. But here you got a team that's got Kyrie, Kevin Durant, two superstars that are possibly the most sensitive men let me back up, the most sensitive people on the planet, and you're going to give them a guy who's never coached a professional game. He might have coached Little League, he might have coached a high school, he might have coached AAU. Never coached a pro team in his life. Now, yeah, he's been around the game and he's a former pro, but I'm here to tell you, there is a large difference in being a player, being an executive, being just a guy that's with the squad versus being the head guy that leads them every day. You can't slip up. Your life is under a microscope. I'm here to tell you, from the little level I coached at, whether it was middle school or high school or little league, players are watching you. They want to know if you know what you're talking about. They want to know, can you do it? They want to make sure whatever you tell them that you're doing the same. Like, you can't tell players you got a curfew and your ass is out. Like, it don't work that way. You can't tell players you need to live your life X, Y, Z while you out living with the devil. Like, it don't work that way. Players see you. The moment you show a crack, the player has you. So we know Steve Nash to be somewhat of a good leader for what he did with the Suns, what he did with Dallas. We're not going to talk about the Lakers years because he barely played. I see more highlights of him laying on the floor with the Lakers because of his back problems, because Steve Nash, towards the end of his career, had terrible back issues. If I'm Brooklyn, why not try to hire a veteran? A guy who's not going to take any gruff from these. Now, of course, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are going to greenlight this coaching decision, because who wouldn't want to greenlight a buddy? Who wouldn't want to greenlight somebody that they think is going to be a pushover, if you will? Oh, Steve Nash is going to coach me? Yeah, he can coach me. I respect what he has to say, because he better not tell me nothing. Because if I want to take 400 shots, I'm going to take 400 shots. If I want to sit on the bench and rest, I'm going to sit on the bench and rest. Because Steve Nash is not running this team. I'm really running this team. That I don't have my bullhorn to change my voice. But that's what I'm telling you, these guys were thinking. That's exactly what Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant is thinking. But then there's Stephen A. Smith. Oh, Stephen A. Smith. The godfather, the good uncle, if you will, of what I'm currently doing right now, which is going ballistic on said here device. Stephen A. comes out on, I don't know if it was First Take or wherever it goes. I don't like what I saw. This isn't right. This is clearly white privilege. This is disrespectful. This is clearly something in the air, because Steven has lost his mind. Steven, this ain't white privilege, bro. Oh, wait, back up. Never before does inexperience do they hire a black man with no experience. Now, Steve got caught because everybody said, well, most recently you had Derek Fisher, then Magic Johnson, and it was a list of guys. Like, the list went on. But then he made up a good point. He came back. They did a little backtracking, and he tried to save his butt because he wants to be, he has to have a relationship with some of these people, so he tried to save his butt. But he did make a good point. When Derek Fisher got the Knicks job, they gave him a terrible team. Terrible. I mean, horrible. Like, nightmare level. Like, you're moving into a house and it has termites and roaches, and bats don't live in the attic. They live in the kitchen. Like, that's how bad of a team they gave him. When Mark Jackson took over the Warriors, they were rebuilding. They weren't ready. When Mark Jackson got to the Warriors, Steph Curry was not an all-star. Klay Thompson was still living at home with his parents. And Draymond Green, I don't even know was a name. Like, I don't even know if nobody knew he existed. When Magic took over the Lakers, that team, I don't even think, they didn't have Shaq or Kobe yet. And I'm trying to think of some other guys. Oh, Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was different. He took over the Nets, and they gave him aging players. Like, everybody was old. So Stephen A's point is, when they do decide to hire a black coach with no experience, it's normally on a team that's bad. And then if you're Mark Jackson, who gets the team to 51 wins and then gets fired, every year the team gets better with him. Every year the team gets better and better and better, and then he gets fired, and you replace him with Steve Kerr. Now, Steve Kerr looks like the man. Steve Kerr takes his team, wins a championship. It was literally the team that Steve Kerr won with was like, it was the if you know football, it was a Tony Dungy situation. Tony Dungy built Tampa Bay. They fire him. John Gruden comes in. They win a Super Bowl. Literally with Tony Dungy's team. Like, he didn't change anything. So is it possible that maybe it's not white privilege, but maybe it's just, I don't know what to call it. Maybe it's timing. I don't I don't like to think that there's race in it, especially in a game where there are more black head coaches than any other professional league in the world. So that's why I find it hard to believe that it's like, all right, there's white privilege, but because there's a lot of brothers that coach in the NBA. I don't know if there's as many as there were a couple of years ago. Does it seem like it now? But if there's any problem with basketball in hiring at the coaching scouting level, then maybe the simple fact that there's too many guys from the Ivy Leagues that run the teams, and who they tend to hire, guys who resemble them, guys who look like them, guys who, hey bro, with them, and that may be the problem, because baseball has that problem. Baseball has plenty of guys that are college Ivy League guys, with no disrespect, all right? But what are they trained to do? They're trained, they want guys that, who do they see? I'm not gonna lie, you go to these Ivy League schools, you probably see maybe a handful of black guys. So I think that's what you don't have. Sports they don't have the, you don't really have too much of a everyday guy in sports, or a guy who played, became an executive, and he'll hire a former teammate, or he'll hire a former guy. We don't see that as much, because more and more analytics becomes more involved, the more and more the game becomes involved. They want people who are going to be more responsible with their money. So I don't know if it's white privilege. If you think it's white privilege, please leave a comment. I will read it. If you're a friend of mine, you're probably going to text me. I'm fine with that. I need you to leave a comment. All right. So I don't know if it's white privilege. I don't really think so. But I will say Steve Nash going to coach the Nets is a terrible idea. Everybody's going to think the Nets are a championship contender, not while Kyrie Irving is their point guard. I'm just going to say that. Is Kyrie Irving a great basketball player? Absolutely. But one of the best. Come in this house right now and cook me up. Wouldn't even be a fair competition. But him playing against his peers, he is, so far, has been the cancer to more teams than he has been a help. Just saying. And the only success he's ever really had, LeBron was playing with him. Oh, funny, we're going to segue to that. We're really going to segue to that in the third segment. Yes. Third segment's going to be a lot of fun, guys. But today's music, if you missed the cold open, which is weird, today's music is by the one, the only DJ Chase of Worldwide Sounds. He just released a new album called Rich in Spirit with Johnny Floss, Brooklyn artist. So congratulations. Download that now. But we already played the single Rich in Spirit earlier. If you're watching on IG, Instagram, or on YouTube, just come to the podcast, man, and you can hear the music. You can hear all the music. But we're going to get ready to cue it up. The Coffee Shop from the new DJ Chase album, Rich in Spirit, with the Brooklyn artist Johnny Floss. And we're going to get it going right now, and we'll be back in the next segment. This is Downright Sports Radio.